The AFC division conference, I should say. The AFC conference is one of the most prestigious conferences in the NFL. Most people, when you're talking about the AFC, mostly likes to think about teams such as the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, currently right now, the Cincinnati Bengals, who are up there in line, the Baltimore Ravens, the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Teams that have had recent success in recent days are the teams that always come up in my mind as far as the most interesting, the most intriguing teams out there that really stand out to most. You think of quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. I had to think about some of these names for a minute there. Lamar Jackson was one. Many other quarterbacks in this conference are all competitors, and they're all quarterbacks that want to be competing for a Super Bowl championship. But the question is now, we got to figure out which of these teams is going to go either over or under based off of Vegas bettings as far as how many games they think they're going to win throughout the year. So it's my duty to release to you all right now, right here, right now, my personal predictions on where each and every AFC team is going to end up. Whether if they're going to go over the number of wins that they're going to get, or under the amount of wins that they will get this year. So this is the time for you to tune in right here, right now, if you want to hear more about it. With all that being said, folks, thank you for tuning in. This is your boy JP Football Fanatics, giving you the best, giving you the most insightful information that you're going to need in order to know where your team stands right now and how many wins I think they're going to get going into next season. So, before we get started here, please be sure to drop a like on this video and leave a comment down below as well. I love doing these stuff with you. I love doing the podcast each and every week. I love going live. I love posting content for you guys. I love doing anything with you guys. And it's my duty to make sure that you are getting the most important information as possible. So, and I know that in recent days, maybe not all of you are interested in the content that I provide to you at this point in time. So it's up to you. You need to tell me what you want me to cover moving forward with doing these podcasts. So please do me the favor, drop a like on this video, leave some comments down below, and let me know what content you would like me to cover moving forward. And if you can also please tell all of your friends, family members, anybody that is a football fanatic too, you take a look at the subscribe button right here. Please click on the subscribe button for me and let me know what all the content you want me to cover. And if you subscribe to me right here, right now, you will be an avid follower of JP Football Fanatics. And not only that, you'll also be in tune with every single thing that I post here each and every week. Whether if it's a live video, whether if it's me making a video off of Zoom with my buddy Scott, or anybody that I have guest speakers come on to talk about football with me. Anything possible. Anything that's related to the NFL currently right now is stuff that you guys want to know about. And I want to be able to provide to you the best content possible. So if you please do me the favor, subscribe, like, comment, all that glorious stuff. You're not only helping me, you're not only helping yourselves, but you're helping the channel grow. And that is something that is a goal of mine that I would like to do, is help this channel grow. So your support and assistance throughout this journey is only going to make it better. All right. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I know we have some small numbers right now. We have one person that's currently watching right now. So to that one person that is watching, thank you so much for tuning in and listening in. It does mean a lot. So with all that being said, everybody, let us begin with our first AFC team in the Baltimore Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens right now as we speak right now, their win total for this year, according to Vegas, thinks that they're going to go 8.5 wins here. So my duty here is to choose whether or not I think they're going to go over or they're going to go under. So this is a tough one for me. I think the Baltimore Ravens are a team that, are reasonably good in a way. I mean, they've lost some key pieces, and if they lose Lamar Jackson, that's also going to hurt them quite a bit too. It's a tough one, and they also lost Calais Campbell on the defensive side of the ball. That also hurts too. They finally got rid of Greg Roman, who was one of the worst, if not the worst, defensive coordinator in the league, of course. So they finally fired him last year. John Harbaugh is still there, and he's still going to do some good things. They also got Nelson Aguilar to help out with the offense if Lamar decides to come back going into next year. This is a tough one for me. I think the Ravens are always a team that everybody likes to really hype up and say they are the best team in the NFL because of Lamar Jackson on this team. But the last few years it's been very difficult for the Ravens because they cannot get over that hump in the playoffs of the divisional round. They haven't been in the AFC Championship in quite a long time. Probably since their last Super Bowl win, if I'm not mistaken. And that was in 2013. So I'm going to say if Lamar does play for the Ravens, they probably can go over. They probably could win 9 or 10 games, kind of be similar to where they were last year. And if Lamar is not playing in this game and Tyler Huntley not playing for this year or for this team at least, and Tyler Huntley has to start, they easily go under. Like, without Lamar Jackson, I feel like this team can definitely be irrelevant very, very quickly. Despite the talent on defense that is phenomenal, they still lack a lot of weapons on offense. And Nelson Aguilar kind of helps, but is not really is not like an elite figure that Lamar needs to be able to carry this offense to any sort of victory. So I think this is going to be a tough one. This is probably one of the toughest ones I have to think about. So I'm going to say over if Lamar Jackson plays. I think they could win at least 9 or 10 games. And under if Lamar Jackson decides not to play this year with the Ravens, and they probably win 6, 7, maybe even 8 games. Because I think that defense is definitely going to carry them to most, if not all, of their victories. Next, we got the Buffalo Bills. This is an interesting one, too. Another one that I find very, very, very hard to predict because of a tough division that they're in. And they're also in the toughest conference in the AFC. So Vegas is thinking the Buffalo Bills are going to go 10.5 wins here. So my job is to think whether they're going to go over or they're going to go under. This is a tough one for me. But I think they're still going to go over. But I think they're just going to go just over by the slimmest of margins. And I'll explain why. You take a look at the teams that they do play against this year in the AFC East. Obviously, they got to go against the Patriots twice. They've owned the Patriots the last couple of years, and there would be no surprise if they decided to, if they were able to sweep the Patriots yet again. The Dolphins have gotten better so far, so they'll probably split with the Dolphins. And I think the toughest team for them, really, that they will face this year, really, in their division, is going to be the Jets. The Jets have so many young bucks on this team. Quentin Nelson, Sauce Gardner, you name it. They have every defensive player you can think about. That defensive line is definitely going to be flying all over opposing teams this year. And offensively, they're still pretty darn good there too. They got a lot of young players on that team too. They have Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall should be coming back early this year. They have a pretty decent offensive line that's going to get better, I think. I think they're growing, so they'll get better going into next year. I think really the biggest thing for the Jets is the quarterback position. We'll kind of more touch up on that when we get to the Jets. But the Bills I have some concerns about, and a lot of their concerns mostly falls under defense, and it goes under coaching too. So there is talent on paper as far as defense goes for the Bills. Like, they got back Jordan Poyer for another year. They still have Von Miller. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go by week 1 or not, but regardless, he's still on this roster. And they also did pick up another running back in Damian Harris, which I like from the Patriots they got. But they still need some help on the offensive line. The offensive line still needs a lot of work They need to pick up another solid receiver, and this could have been the perfect opportunity for the Bills to work on getting a Brandon Cooks into this lineup here to kind of coincide along with Gabe Davis floating around that wide receiver 2-3 mark. And Josh Allen can't be doing everything. They need to figure out how to get this run game going. And don't be surprised if Sean McDermott, at some point during the season, if he does not get this team to a Super Bowl appearance this year again, chances are for Sean McDermott to get fired is very, very high. So Sean McDermott is definitely on the hot seat. Josh Allen will probably, Josh Allen will still be Josh Allen. He's still going to be a beast. He's still going to put points on the board for this team. But there's definitely a lot of question marks about this team. I think they're going to go over. I think they can win 11, 12 games. But I don't think they're going to be as good as they were offensively last year. I think they just kind of fell into that right category where they were playing some bad defenses. Now they got to be able to show when they play the good teams this year, like they got to play all of the AFC West. That's going to be very hard for them to be able to do. They'll play the Chiefs. That's always a tough game for them. They'll have to play the Broncos, another tough defensive team that they'll be facing. They also have to face the Raiders. They have to face the Chargers. Like, there are some good teams, and the schedule is going to be tougher for them this year. So they need to start reworking these things, get this offensive line ready to go, and they need to get going on getting another wide receiver to help out Stephon Diggs, because that's going to be the biggest factor into their season success this year. And also they need to really consider about Sean McDermott too, and where he could be moving forward. Next, we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Their over and under is 11.5. This is a pretty easy one for me, in my honest opinion. And I hope I don't, I hope this definitely does not backfire. But I think the Bengals are going to go over 11.5. I can definitely see them winning 12, 13, 14 wins. I think they're a lot more consistent. I think they're a lot more talented than the Bills are. I'm just being completely honest with you. They did lose a couple key players on the defensive side, like Von Bell. They lost Jesse Bates at safety. So they did lose a couple of really, really key players to this defense. But they still will be getting Mike Hilton, should be coming back next year. The defensive line is still going to be pretty good. They have all their wide receivers. Joe Mixon is still in the mix. He's still there with them unless Austin Eckler is getting ready to get traded, and he could go to Cincinnati. But Joe Mixon is still there. I think they need to fix that problem and see what they can get for Joe Mixon. I think it's time for them to let go of him. But they still have T. Higgins. They have Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd is still on this team. The only thing about their offense they lost was Hayden Hurst, and they were able to replace that with another tight end. I forget who they just signed at tight end, but they're still going to be fine offensively. Joe Burrow is still a beast. I think the offensive line is going to get better this year too, unlike last year and the year before that. So, and I think this is a very, very underrated coaching staff that not a lot of people are really talking about. Everyone wants to praise Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase for this team's success, and I definitely do a lot. I have a ton of respect for them. But the coaching staff is definitely what keeps this team afloat. I think they're on the right track. I think they're going to get themselves back into the Super Bowl next year. I think they have a lot going for them. So I think the Bengals are going to easily go over. I think they're going to win 12, 13, maybe even 14 games going into next year and the next several years, because I think this is a really solid, probably the best team in the AFC, in my honest opinion, right next to the Chiefs. Next, we've got the Cleveland Browns. The Browns over and under win total, according to Vegas, is going to be 8.5. I think this one can either go either way. This is definitely, I feel like the Browns are the trickiest team to rank because a lot of inconsistencies that this team has had throughout their entire franchise. Getting Deshaun Watson last year and paying him $230 million for the 5-year contract is absolutely absurd, in my honest opinion. Considering what was going on with Deshaun Watson last year and him getting that 12-game suspension. Last year, we saw a bit of Deshaun Watson at the last quarter of the season, and last time we saw it did not look very pretty. Deshaun Watson looked very, very, very rusty. He could not build any connections with his wide receivers. They just got Elijah Moore from the Jets, which I think was a nice trade for them, so that will be another key piece to the passing game to help out Watson, which will be nice. The offensive line is pretty darn good. Defensively, they have some players. They just recently let go of Jadeveon Clowney, um, but they are fixing up with what they can. I think getting a new defensive coordinator to get this defense going is going to be key to their success. I think offensively, I mean, you still have Amari Cooper. You have a good offensive line. You have David Njoku. Now you have now you also have Nick Chubb in there too in the run and the backfield, which is also going to really help you out a lot too. And then you also pick up a wide receiver of Elijah Moore, which is a pretty nice, solid pick for the Browns to be able to pick up. And I think this is a tricky one, but I think they're going to go just slightly over. I think they can definitely win 9, maybe even 10 games. I think Deshaun Watson is going to get himself back in the right track in football. I think he's going to have a better connection with his wide receivers. I think he'll understand the playbook. He'll have a full year to really get to know the Brown system and the offense that Kevin Stefanski wants to work around in. I think he'll get himself back in track. I think this team is due for some success. I think they can do it, but I think they have a lot of tough teams that they're going to be playing up against too. So they're going to have to really be challenging themselves to be able to go in there and beat like the Cincinnati Bengals or go in there and beat the Steelers once or beat the Ravens once. Like I think this team is better than the Ravens, but I think it's all going to come down to coaching and whether or not Deshaun Watson is going to be their guy moving forward. So a lot of factors, a lot of players and coaches that are probably going to be in the hot seat for this year, I would probably say. So that's where I'm looking at it right now. I think I'm going to lean more towards the over. I think they could win at least 9 games this year or 10. Next, we got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos last year were absolutely atrocious offensively. They were the worst offensive team in football. Their over and under this year is going to be 8.5. I think now that you get a head coach like Sean Payton, who was, in my honest opinion, probably one of the best coaches in the NFL, which was a huge plus for Denver to get in the offseason. They still have Russell Wilson. They're going to have him for quite a while, too. They get him for at least 4 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that, with an insane contract. Like, not as bad as Deshaun Watson, but pretty darn close to it. Offensive line is probably going to need some work in it. Defensively, I think they're still pretty good in defensively. I don't think there's a whole lot to really worry about there. Javonte Williams should be back this year. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go come week 1. But I think Russell Wilson, now that he has a real coach in Sean Payton and someone who's had a ton of success in New Orleans for years under Drew Brees, I think this team can definitely improve. I think they're definitely going to improve, but I think this is really now where Russ needs to be able to figure out the offensive playbook. He's going to have to really learn a whole new system under Sean Payton, and I think that's going to be very, I think he can get back to where he was prior to leaving Seattle, but I don't think he's going to be at the elite level that he once was during his prime years. That's just my honest opinion. So they're in a tough division. AFC West is definitely a tough division when you have to play against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Justin Herbert, and that's pretty much it there. I don't think Josh McDaniels or Jimmy Garoppolo really is a huge threat to you, but this team also tends to fold at the wrong time of the year too. So this is another tough one for me, but I think they could definitely go under. Like the Browns, they're kind of a tricky team to figure out. They have talent where they need it. They have the wide receivers. I think they need to kind of move off from either Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy. I like Jerry Jeudy. I think he's a nice, solid slot receiver that is going to be good for Russell Wilson. But Cortland Sutton, I don't really know if I really trust him being like a number 1 or even like a number 2 or 3 receiver in any means. Maybe in a certain situation I would want him to. But I think they need to really work up on some things and upgrade some parts of their team if they want to be able to talk about a Super Bowl win yet again. So I'm going to lean more towards, I want to play it safe and go under, but I also think there is a possibility where they could definitely go over 2 and win at least 9 games going into next year. And that could be just enough for them to squeak a spot in the playoffs. Next, I've got the Houston Texans, and their over-under score is going to be at 5.5, according to Vegas. I think Houston has been, not going to lie, I think they've been making some moves that I think is going to benefit them in their future. I mean, getting Dalton Schultz was a huge, huge upgrade over what they had previously. I think getting another decent running back that is pretty similar to Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary is going to help too. I think they're also going to be drafting a quarterback. They're the number 2 overall pick, so they're probably going to get either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, or maybe they could be another team that could get an Anthony Richardson. I don't know, but I think the Texans, I think they can probably win at least 5, maybe 6 games. I think D'Amico Ryans over Lovie Smith is great. I think D'Amico Ryans is going to help improve this defense a lot. I don't think the defense was as bad as people think that they were last year. I think they had some good secondary players that I think are a nice threat to the opposing teams. I think they really just need to fix up on coaching, which I think getting D'Amico Ryans, who is a defensive-minded coach, is definitely going to help out there. You definitely need to get a quarterback in this draft. You need to be able to get another solid wide receiver also, because you just lost Brandon Cooks. I think they'll be able to draft a wide receiver here too, possibly sometime during the draft. Offensive line, I'm not too familiar with offensive line for this particular team, but I think they could probably use some work too. I mean, the team as a whole is still kind of a mess after the whole Deshaun Watson thing when he was getting traded away. So there's still a lot of question marks about the team. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done with it, but I think this is gonna be another rebuilding year for the Texans, but I don't think they're gonna be nearly as bad as they were last year. I think they're still going to probably be at the bottom of their division, but I think they're going to make some signs of improvement. So I'm going to play it safe here. I think they're going to go under, but I think they're also going to make some nice improvements during the season and be able to get themselves to at least 5 wins, but just ever so slightly. I think they're going to win 5 games and maybe fly under the radar too with a defensive-minded coach of D'Amico Ryans. Next week, got the Indianapolis Colts at 6.5 wins for this year. The Colts are also in a rebuilding mode. Last year was a disastrous year after signing for Matt Ryan and Frank Reich getting fired. And then you get Jeff Saturday as your interim coach, and that was an absolute disaster. You go from Matt Ryan to Sam Ehlinger to then back to Matt Ryan, and then go to Nick Foles, and then you go back to Sam Ehlinger. Like, this team is still very, very messy. That needs a lot of work to figure out. Like, obviously, they have some nice key players. Jonathan Taylor should be back. He's going to be healthier, and I think he's going to be nice for them next year. I think they also have a nice solid back to like a backup halfback, fullback of Deion Jackson, who also had a pretty nice solid rookie year last year, so I think he'll be fine too. The offensive line needs a ton of work on it. It was pretty bad last year. Michael Pittman is still pretty darn good. I think he'll still be there. Alec Pierce is young, and I like him. I think he's going to do just fine. They're also going to be another team that they should be drafting a quarterback, and they probably will be. They'll probably get an Anthony Richardson at number 4. Defensively is solid. I think they can be good defensively next year. I think the only key piece that they lost was Stephon Gilmore, but I think they're still solid enough, and they probably are going to be the ones that really get this team to some sort of wins like they were last year. Like, I think the defense is still pretty darn good. That's going to be tough to be able to pass on this team and be able to run on. So I think they're still a good defensive team. But I think I'm going to go with the under. I think they're under. I'm going to go with the under at 6.5. I think they'll probably win 5, maybe like the Texans, 5 or 4 games again, right around that win total. I still think they just have a lot of work they need to figure out. Obviously, it's going to be starting at quarterback, because that's really their biggest downfall, is they can't get the quarterback situation right. Steven Stetchen, who's the new head coach for this team, I think is going to be leaning towards more like an offense that he had under Jalen Hurts when he was his play caller for the Eagles. So I expect them to be able to make a big jump in terms of the running game with Jonathan Taylor healthy. And if they're in a position to get someone like a Lamar Jackson or Anthony Richardson here, who as running mobility and arm strength incredible. I think they could be a nice team in a rebuilding mode, like probably the best rebuilding team going into next year. But I don't expect them to really do anything special at this point in time. So the under for me for the Colts is definitely something I'm going to be looking into if I decide to even bet on the Colts this year. But I don't think so. I think they're going to need a ton of work going into the draft in the offseason. So. All right, next we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. So their over-under is 9.5. I'm going to take the over. I think the Jags are the best team in the AFC South. That doesn't really say a whole lot, but they have a lot of young talent. They have some nice free agent pickups that they got so far this season. Offensive line should get better. I think they're going to get better. Trevor Lawrence in year 3 should be better. They'll also be getting Calvin Ridley to be starting this year too after that whole year suspension for gambling. So now they have Calvin Ridley that'll be in the game too. You got Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne in the backfield. That's going to be pretty nice too. Evan Ingram if he, plays the way that he played last year. And then you got Doug Peterson at head coach. And I think you got a pretty nice solid team that's going to be like a dark horse going into this year and going into like the Super Bowl. I think this is a team that can compete with the top dogs like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Cincinnati Bengals or the Buffalo Bills. Like I could definitely see this team giving those teams a run for their money. Like no question about it. Like I think they're definitely getting up there and they're slowly getting up there. And I think they have the right coaching staff. I think they're one of the better coaching staffs in the AFC in my honest opinion. And so I'm going to take the over for the Jaguars. I think they can win at least 10 to 11 wins, maybe even 12 wins. Maybe that might be asking for a bit too much. But 10, 11 games, I can definitely see the Jaguars winning. I can definitely see them being a dark horse in terms of being in the playoffs and maybe even make a run for the Super Bowl. I think that's how serious this team really is. Next, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Over-under is 11.5. That's going to be easy for me to pick. I'm definitely taking the over, no question about it. Obviously, their Super Bowl champs are coming off of the Super Bowl win from last year. I think this team, obviously, everybody knows that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. No question about it. And Andy Reid is the best offensive-minded guy on this team. He's the best offensive-minded coach in the league. I think with this team, they can win a ton of Super Bowls within this decade. Like, this team definitely is going to be solid. They're not just solid, but they are going to be pretty unstoppable like they were last year too. I also think they're going to be working on defense quite a bit too. I know defensive coordinator of Steve Spagnuolo has been trying to build a defense for a long time with the Chiefs, and they've never really been able to like really get the defense down. They've mostly been offensive and just basically winning in almost every shootout. So I think their defense is definitely going to still need a lot of work, but offensively, I think the offensive line is going to get better. I think they were much better last year than they were the year before. Travis Kelce is still an absolute beast. They lost Juju, but I think they might be able to pick up another wide receiver maybe in the I don't know if they're going to get a solid one in the draft, but they can definitely pick up one in free agency too and maybe work out a trade with someone so that way they can get some more pieces to help out Travis Kelce, because I think that's going to be the most important thing for the Chiefs is to pick up another solid receiver that they can rely on besides, Travis Kelce every single play. Kadarius Toney's still going to be there. I think he's going to do just fine. I think he's definitely much better off being here than he was with the Giants. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling, not a huge fan of him, but he's going to need to really step up his game and really prove himself that he can compete in this league and he can be a top target for Patrick Mahomes. But I don't know. I think that's just asking for too much. So I think the Chiefs need to focus on some of those things if they want to get themselves back in the Super Bowl. So that's really all I got to say on that one. Next, we got the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders over-under is at 7.5. This is a tough one for me, too. You go from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo. How much of a separation, in my honest opinion, is that really? I don't think it's really that much different. I think Jimmy Garoppolo might be slightly worse than Derek Carr. I think they're both kind of similar, but Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely a game manager, and he has played under Josh McDaniels before when he was with New England. So I think him, I think Jacoby Myers also being in there too. And he'll have a top target of Devontae Adams too and Josh Jacobs as well in the backfield. A nice solid offensive line. I mean, this is a tough one for me, but I don't think they're going to do that much better with Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm going to probably take the safe bet. And I think they probably, this is a tough one. I could definitely see them winning maybe 8 games, maybe 9 games, maybe. But that's really all I see the Raiders winning. I don't really see them winning any more than that. And then the lowest I probably could see this team really win is probably 5 or 6. I think is definitely the lowest ceiling for them. But the highest I say is 8 or 9 wins max. So I don't know if I want to go over or under for this team. I think this is tough for me because I know the defense needs a ton of work still. They should be drafting a corner in the first round for this draft year. So I think they'll definitely pick up on a corner. I'm probably going to slightly lean more towards the under because I definitely can see this team going 7-10 and missing the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the slight under here because I don't know if I can trust. Like I don't think Josh McDaniels as much as people want to bash him. I personally don't believe he is the main problem for this team. I think it's just the organization. Mark Davis is just he's not the kind of person that's in a winning culture. This isn't a winning culture team, and fans are tired of it. I think McDaniels wants to change that culture, but I don't think Mark Davis is willing to let that happen for whatever reason. Like, they just want to keep putting up mediocrity numbers every single year and be satisfied with it. That's why I got to go with the under because I don't really trust the ownership. I don't know really what this team has a lot of questions in terms of like organization, front office wise, and really just like coaching as a whole. I don't think McDaniels is the main problem. I like him as a head coach for this team because they're an offensive team. But as far as like all the other situations that are going on and everything and the distractions that they have, I don't know if I can really see them really winning that much more. So that's why I lean with that. All right, now we got the Los Angeles Chargers. Their over and under win total is at 9.5. Another tricky one, like the Raiders. I think this is also going to be This is definitely going to be putting Brandon Staley on the hot seat. I think if the Chargers don't exceed to expectations, I think Staley is definitely going to get himself fired if they do not improve at all this year. I think I might be able to go over. I can see this team winning 10, 11 games like they did. I think they're going to be similar to what they were last year. They've been kind of quiet this year in terms of their offseason stuff. They haven't really done a whole lot in the offseason. So I can definitely see this team probably getting back to like at least 10 wins, maybe 11 wins going into next year. Like this team is loaded with talent, obviously. Like Justin Herbert, for a guy that has not been able to win a playoff game, is definitely a top 5 quarterback. Like there's no question about it. Like I love watching Justin Herbert play, and I feel so bad for him with just being in mediocrity situations like coaching, for example. The coaching is just mediocre. Maybe Kellen Moore can put a spark to the offense and pick something up, maybe. I think it's a nice fit for Kellen Moore to be in this team. But I feel like this Chargers team, I feel like Brandon Staley is going to do something stupid to prevent this team from going any further. Like, this is like one of the trickiest teams in the NFL to figure out because of just mediocrity play and mediocrity coaching. I'm going to lean more towards the over because I can definitely see the team probably getting back to similar to what they were last year at 10-7 maybe, or 11-6. But I wouldn't be too shocked if they were under either and win like maybe 8 games, 9 games max. maybe even be lower too. But it's also going to be depending on uh, the way of how. It's also just going to really depend on the team's health wise. Like if this team is not healthy, they're going to be very similar to what they were last year, with Justin Herbert not having Keenan Allen and Mike Williams for a majority of the season, and would just have to bank on Austin Eckler every single play. So it's a tricky team to figure out, but I think they're going to go slightly over. I think I can see them being very similar to what they were a year ago. Next team I've got here is the Miami Dolphins. Their over-under win total is at 9.5. I think they can win 9 games, 10 games, but I think it's also going to be very dependent on the quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. I think Tua's health is definitely the biggest question at this point in his career going into year 4. Last year was not very pretty for him in terms of his 3 concussions that he was in. He was in concussion protocol 3 times last year, and that's a problem in this league if you're going in that many times for concussion. Like, if something does happen to Tua and he is not able to play ever again in the league, this team is definitely going to be in a lot of trouble. Like, not just little, and a lot of trouble. So I think they need to definitely fix up on that offensive line that's atrocious. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, best wide receiver duo in the league for sure, or they're at least the 2 fastest wide receivers in the league by far. Run game is improved slightly, a little bit. They signed back Raheem Mostert, which is nice. I think that's a nice sign back for him. They got Jeff Wilson, I believe, back too. So the split time between Mostert and Jeff Wilson is definitely going to be huge. I think. Losing Mike Gesicki is kind of going to hurt you a little bit, but not really so much. Defensively, I believe the defense has improved. Getting Jalen Ramsey as the other corner to help out Xavier Howard is a huge plus. Bradley Chubb should get better. I think he'll improve and he'll figure out the defense better. And I think getting Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator over what they had last year, I think is also going to really help a lot too. So I can see this team improving. I can see this team going 10-7. I can see this team going 11-6. Or I could really see this team going slightly under and go 9-8. I think there's a lot of question marks around Tua. I really, at this point, the question is Tua going to be healthy enough to be able to put this team on the map and bring them to where you're bringing all this talent in? I think is the biggest question mark here. So I'm going to go lean more towards the over at 10 wins max, but don't be surprised if they do go 9-8 again this year. And a lot of that would probably be because of Tua and his health. Next, we got the New England Patriots. Their over-under is at 7.5. They're very similar in a way to the Miami Dolphins. They're in a similar situation, kind of, in terms of quarterback, because Bill Belichick wants to trade away Mac Jones. Robert Kraft does not want that to happen. He wants to give him another year. If you watched my video the other day as far as me talking about my honest opinion on why the Patriots should give Mac Jones another chance to play for this team, I think they're going to go over. I think this team improved, obviously. A huge upgrade from Matt Patricia to Bill O'Brien as OC is definitely going to help significantly. You now have another nice, solid wide receiver of Juju Smith-Schuster that's going to help you quite a bit too. And you also get a nice upgrade for Mike Gesicki over Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. I think that's a big plus for the Patriots to get Mike Gesicki. I think it's a great fit. Devontae Parker was a bit quiet last year, but he could get better. They lost Jacoby Myers, and they lost Nelson Aguilar, but that doesn't really hurt too much. I think they just need to get themselves another solid wide receiver for this team. And I think if they get at least another wide receiver or 2, I think this team could be at least a dark horse. Defensively, I'm not concerned about them besides Devin McCourty retiring. I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. But I also do think Matthew Judon, who did the bulk of the work last year for them, and the 3 Joneses of Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, Jack Jones, I think is definitely going to help them out quite a bit. I'm not worried about the defense at all. I think what they need to focus on really to help this team succeed is offensive line. I think you need to protect Mac Jones. You know what kind of quarterback he is. He's not the most mobile quarterback, but he's a game manager and he gets the job done. He can win games with some sort of talent that he does have around him. But I think Juju is probably his best receiver. Excuse me. I think it's definitely the best receiver that he's had, or at least he will be having in year 3. I could see a jump with Mac Jones in year 3. I really do. I think this. I don't think this team is ready to give up just yet. I think this team definitely wants a winning culture, and I think they can definitely win with Mac Jones, but they need to put him in a right situation. And I think it definitely helped a lot with getting that upgrade at OC and getting that upgrade, at least that one upgrade in terms of the wide receiver position. So I like the Patriots. I've always been respectful to the Patriots because of all the years that they've been doing, having success under with Tom Brady. I've always had a lot of respect for Tom Brady and this organization. And I think they can get themselves back there, but they all need to be on the same page. And I think they can do it this year and be able to get themselves back into the playoff talk and possibly even be a dark horse for the Super Bowl if they can fix up on those little things. Next, we got the New York Jets. The Jets are another team that I think could definitely exceed to expectations. I think they're going to over exceed to expectations if they get Aaron Rodgers. If they get Aaron Rodgers, that's a huge, huge upgrade over Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco by like 1,000 miles. I think the Jets need to go ahead and get Aaron Rodgers before it's too late. I think they need to give up that this year's first round pick for Aaron Rodgers because I think if they get him, you look at the talent that they have, the best defense he's probably will ever have in his entire career. I think they can win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I really think they're a team that is in a position now where they can win now. So why not get Aaron Rodgers? I think if they get Aaron Rodgers, they're definitely going to go over 9.5 wins. No question about it. But, however, if and only if Aaron Rodgers does not go, they easily can fall flat on their face. And if they have to turn back to Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson, they're going to go underneath again. So the Jets need to make that decision right here, right now, to say we're ready to trade our first round pick or 2, including for next year, for Aaron Rodgers. Because I think this is a team that can win right now. So if I'm the Jets, I'm their GM, I'm going big. Like what the Bucs did with Tom Brady, what the Rams did with Matthew Stafford, what the Broncos did with Peyton Manning. You're in a position to win a Super Bowl. Get Aaron Rodgers. Give up with what you have to give up because you have a young team that is very talented. And if they experience a good winning culture now, they can carry on that winning culture moving forward after Aaron Rodgers retires. So they need to get Aaron Rodgers if they want to be in that Super Bowl conversation. So Aaron Rodgers, over. For sure. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers, definitely under. I definitely think it can go either way with this team. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their over and under is 8.5. I'm going to go over. I think they're slightly going to go over. I think they're going to be similar to what they were last year of 9-8. I think Kenny Pickett will improve, but I think the team as a whole, they still have a lot of things they need to clean up. Defense, there's no problems with defense. They still have TJ Watt. They've got Minka Fitzpatrick back there. They just got Patrick Peterson last month too, which is going to help them out a little bit. And defensive line is still very solid right there. Offensively, I think that Pickett to Pickens connection is going to be something really special. I think George Pickens is a very, very, very nice addition to this offense that's going to help Kenny Pickett out a lot in the passing game. Deontay Johnson, as far as I know, he'll still be there. Najee Harris. Najee Harris, I'm not the biggest Najee Harris fan. I think he improved last year, but I think the wide receiver market right now with the Steelers and what they have right now is definitely a lot more, definitely much more efficient than the running back position for this team. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he's going to be the top guy that he once was when he was drafted a couple of years ago. But I still think this is a team that's not ready to lose yet. I don't think they're a team that's in that losing conversation. I don't think Mike Tomlin wants to lose at all. I mean, no coach wants to lose, and he refuses to rebuild and everything. So I don't think. I thought last year at least Mike Tomlin would have had a losing season with this team, but he proved everybody wrong, and that's why I can't. I don't know if I can go with the Steelers or see the Steelers have a losing season anytime soon. At least when Tomlin is in the helm. So that's why I'm going with the under, because of coaching and because I think of that special connection with Pickett and Pickens, and that defense is definitely going to give a lot of teams nightmares moving forward in the future. And then finally, the last team to talk about is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are the over and under for the Titans are 7.5. I think this team is definitely going for a major regress. I think it's time for them to start scratch and start rebuilding. I think it's time to think about trading Derrick Henry away. Like the news media keeps saying, it's time to trade him away. I think they need to find Derrick Henry a new home and get him out of there before it's too late, before he gets himself injured severely and he can't play anymore. Ryan Tannehill is older too. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any of the wide receivers like he used to. He doesn't have A.J. Brown there. He doesn't have any of the wide receivers that he used to have. The offensive line is old. The wide receivers are not very good. Treylon Burks is okay at best, but he doesn't put up the numbers like A.J. Brown did when he played for the Titans. Defensively, I think they're still pretty good. They just signed back a couple defensive players, which is absolutely nice, but they definitely need a lot of work. I think the team is still going to be competitive. Like, I think the team can compete in their AFC South division. Like, they can definitely compete with the Colts. They can compete with the Texans and the Jaguars. But anything outside of their division is going to be very, very hard for them to win. Like, I think Mike Vrabel is an outstanding coach. I think he's definitely an elite coach, or at least a top-tier coach. But I think it's also time for them to start the rebuild, start trading away, finding a new place for Derrick Henry, thinking about moving off from Ryan Tannehill. And I think there's a lot of things that the Titans are going to need to do to fix up this team if they want to get back into a winning culture in the future. And I think it's just going to have to start now. I think this is the time for them to lose. Like, it's a perfect time for them to start losing games. So, and I don't think Malik Willis is the answer for this team. I think he has too much of a long ways to go to be a player in this league. And with all that's being said, everybody, it concludes all of my AFC wins over under predictions for the 2023 season. Before we start logging off and everything, please be sure to drop a like on this video and leave a comment down below. You know how I feel about this, guys. Like, I really enjoy being able to provide to you with the best content possible, but sometimes I run out of ideas. Sometimes I have no idea what to really talk about or really what I think is most important to cover. And that's why I have you guys. That's why I want you to be more involved in this podcast. So if you please do me the favor, drop a like, leave a comment down below, and you tell me the content that you want me to cover. I'm telling you, I will definitely do it, because I care about you guys way more than I care about myself, because you guys mean everything to me, and the sport of football means everything to me, and everything deserves recognition, and everything else does deserve to be opinionated on and everything. So do all those things. And if you also please just subscribe to this channel as well. You hit the subscribe button down below this video. Please be able to do so, because not only are you going to help me out, but you're also going to help the channel grow significantly as well. Because the more followers that I have, the more people that I have watching these things, anybody that's a football fanatic that wants to watch a new guy besides like a Colin Cowherd and a Stephen A. Smith and all that, they can come here to JP Football Fanatics, where I give you the most brutal, honest opinions out there as far as what I think of your NFL team. So like, comment, subscribe, and also hit the notification bell, because when you do that, you'll also be notified on when I post new content. With all that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Really does mean a lot. Be on the lookout for my Facebook page. I'll be posting some content on there soon. as far as like when my next video is going to be, when my next live stream is going to be, or when I do a pre-recorded podcast with my buddy Scott. Like, I'll let you guys know. So just kind of keep on your eyes open on the Facebook page. It's James. Thanks for watching. Hope you all have a nice day. Peace out.